and this is Miss Navajo, and we didn't get to have her to get the chance to view her butcher the sheep.
Oh, today we partnered with University of Arizona, the Extension Cooperation Program out from Shiprock. So Alex is here too. I'd love to introduce you.
Oh yes.
Alex.
Oh yes.
We were just talking.
We had a chance to talk. One of the things that they consider very important in the early days and in the days past is that of food. Chiyan is what we call the foods. And the word itself, it might be the first part of it, which is what grows or plants. And yan is to eat or to consume. And so the chiyan is always something that was important to our people. And there were so many different ways to prepare various vegetation or animals and that were used as food. And so the teaching of our people concerning how to preserve some of those food items and that is very important to know. And a lot of the foods that our people used to eat are something that is no longer known how to make those foods. But some of the other foods and that we have now are very unhealthy. But yet our people don't seem to get the information that they need to understand that there are some great dangers in consuming so much of the foods and that are out there available to them. I know that they had commodity foods and that was made available from the government to our people. And a lot of those food items and that were not very good in many ways. I remember getting peanut butter and the Caro corn syrup. Corn syrup is a very dangerous food, and yet our people seem to not be aware of it, and so they consume so much of it. And then sugar, of course, is something that our people add to all kinds of things that are food. They even put it in some of the fried bread and that they're making. But the ingredients in that used in making modern day fried bread is really, most of it is not very healthy, especially the oils in that is used as part of the ingredient. And we do have a lot of health issues with our people on the reservation because of the foods and that are very strange and new, and our people consume it in great amounts. We have such things as pasta and rice, and those types of food are not something that our people originally had. And so the foods in that were made by our people, there was one item in that has always been of interest to me, and that was the food item that's called tsi'kan. Tsi'kan means the meat that is ground up. And today they think that the sausages and hot dogs and the processed luncheon meat and that is sometimes referred to as tsi'kan. And even the Spam and the corned beef and that is considered as tsi'kan. But that's not really so. The original tsi'kan was the meat that was made into jerky, and that was ground up, and then it was mixed with the fat. This would be natural fat that might come from elk or deer or even antelope. The fat, akatan is what they call it. It's the fat that's removed from the inside of an animal, and that's added to the as an ingredient in making the pulverized and the ground up jerky. And then you add such things as sumac berries, chichin or jachin is sometimes the way that they would pulverize it and grind it up into a fine powder. And then the other items on that, even the yucca fruit, which is sometimes called hashkan, but also that name hashkan is somehow applied to a banana. But the original hashkan is the yucca fruit, and that was ground up and added to the tsi'kan. And so after that was made, and that particular tsi'kan that was a traditional food was something that you had just a small piece of, and actually you could carry it for many days and you could eat just a small portion of it, and it would give you all of the energy that you needed. And so it wasn't that they carried a lot of it, and it was very easy to carry and to have with you on any long walk or long journey. And so we have lost the recipe to tsinkan, but we were looking for that just recently to find some people that might know how to prepare tsinkan. And so we attended a place, a chapter area over by Shiprock, where some young ladies and that were conducting an opportunity for people to see some of the ways that our foods are prepared. And even they had a butchering presentation as well, and that was done by our present Miss Navajo. But there are colleges and universities that are interested in helping to preserve some of these ways of preparing foods and some of the traditional foods and that. Originally, Lupton.
Oh, Lupton.
I've been all over the place, everywhere. Even over here in Blanding and out in Kayenta. Now we're in Page.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm from Black Mesa, Zitlin.
Oh, okay. My people, my grandparents and that, great-great-great-grandparents and that, all came out of what is called Sale, what is Canyon de Chelly. But they all came out of that area as far as on my Totochini side. And so anybody that's Totochini from that particular clan group, they're probably closely related to me. So Tsinachini families, of course, came down here from over here by Brimhall and Crown Point. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Well, Tsinachini is what my dad is, and then my grandparents on my mom's side, of course, is the Tupang, Edgewater people, and then on my father's side, there's the Towering House people, Kea'ani. And there's a lot of history. I'm descendant of the original 4 clans, the very first 4. And that's why I am so related to so many people that are descendant of major clan families like Tsinachini or like Totochini. And so, you know,
Well, I'm really happy that you're here this morning. We just did a little introduction to butchering. We covered the story about where the sheep came from, the significance of its parts and what they symbolize. So I just shared a little bit about that. And then we got into like a little bit of different taboos, and like, especially if you're a woman, you're not supposed to butcher if you're on your monthly cycle.
Right.
Yeah, so just different do's and don'ts with butchering.
Right. Well, we have here where we're at, we have to the north the Pensa, which is one of the sacred mountains. But it's very interesting that the Tatatliza and Naraji, which was the bighorn sheep, all these names and the way we refer to them is gone. And even Tetel, which is the moose, and the Tze and the Jada, Bee. All of these types were food, and animals were harvested at certain seasons of the year. We didn't have the domesticated sheep until after the 1500s. And so it's really good to kind of get together and talk about these foods and that. And like you mentioned, I wanted to actually have you talk a little bit more about some of these foods and that we use that are really not healthy. There's a lot of foods and that our people are consuming now, and it's causing a lot of health problems. And I just kind of mentioned the synthetic oils and the different types of oils and that are acquired from vegetables and corn and so on, that which are very unhealthy. And yet, because they're not expensive, people use them all the time in making their foods and adding to their foods, and it's causing them health problems.
Food sovereignty on tribal nations is one of the biggest combats I think I've seen within the work that I do. We get to go to other tribes. So this past year we went to the Seminole in Florida. And so we learn a lot about their food sovereignty programs. So it's really interesting to go to different tribes and see those, working with the program that I've been in, and it's been an eye-opener. This is my first food one, and so it's really interesting to learn a lot about this stuff and hear other people talk about it and whatnot. And
well, when you look at the continent here, different regions, areas have different foods because they have access to a lot of fishing up in the northwest. And then when you mentioned Florida, you have alligators and other types of food. And people did eat those types of available foods. And of course the greens and that, the vegetables and that are available in those areas are different than what we can do here in the Southwest. And so there's a lot to learn and a lot to
just
teach.
To see how the tribal people were so resilient, not only us, but other tribes, and the things that they went through and the food that was taken. And it's funny, one thing we all have in common is fry bread. But they make them a little bit differently. And so when I say when we talk about traditional foods, I don't want people to say, oh yeah, fry bread.
Right.
I want them to think more into it, and so that's kind of tying it all back together in the education and the sharing
And that's what I love about being Miss Navajo as well. You can do. I know during the pandemic there was a lot of videos, but what I wanted to bring back now that we're coming out of that, we're transitioning out of being isolated. That I wanted to go back into the communities because you can hear these stories, you can listen to other people say their experiences. So it's really good to bring these experience to the communities so they can feel and actually be in the presence of, let's say we say parts of the animal are our medicine, they're sacred to us. But if you just hear it from others instead of being a part of the process, it's very different.
Right.
So that's what I like about going into the communities, and that's what I like about this.
Well, that's the only way we can do it is actually almost one-on-one by going to all of the different chapters and that, and making small presentations. There's a lot of foods in that are being forgotten. And actually foods that was used in great abundance, that we don't do it anymore. Back then they didn't have additives or refrigeration, and they had to prepare foods a different way so they could last a long time. And so those are the types of foods that we're looking for, people that might know how to prepare those types of foods, maybe reintroduce them. The way things are going, we might end up having to eat and use a lot of the old traditional foods and that preserved our people in the past.
I was sharing with Wally that when we started doing the program, it became a little hard to find people that were willing to share that information, and that was just kind of our first goal, was to kind of get something together and then build from there, and hopefully we would attract the right people to get together and continue this journey and trying to figure out traditional foods for our people. And like you said, we might have to go back to that and resort to our old ways for food preparation and nutrition, because right now we have a high rate of diabetes and other metabolic diseases.
There's a lot of foods in that we use as far as, canola oil, corn oil, vegetable oil. All those things are not good. Our people are not learning about the dangers of using vegetable oil and canola oil and those types of things, and the process that they go through to produce those types of oils.
Nice.
Thank you for coming out.
Hakoshina,
We said
thank you. And if the Neh would actually begin using some of these old foods and that we no longer have, they would become more healthy. It could eliminate a lot of the problems on that, obesity and diabetes and problems with the kidneys and other body organs and that. But anyhow, those are the things that we are told.
Hey, thanks for watching our videos. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. Also, head over to our website, NavajoTraditionalTeachings.com. Sign up for our email list. Okay.